Hello, I'm here again in Frontera City, still waiting for the next batch of new missions so I can get one and acquire some bounties. Of course, it's a dog-eat world out here. You need to get money. The only way to get money is to take some missions, and to take some missions you need to hunt down those pesky porrings and other devious things crawling around outside. You know, I might just make a change of pace around here. Maybe get out. Maybe go to that place that everyone here is talking about. Payon, or Payon, whatever it's called. I hear it's all lush forests there, and nice and peaceful surroundings. Well, before we go there, I need to earn up some zenny. But first, I'm going to tell you a story that I remembered many years ago when I was still back in the real world, such as it is. And it is quite a different story, but also connected to the March of the Machines that we just have left a while ago. And the story goes like this. There is a story. Many eons ago, there was a great wizard by the name of Urza. So wise was he that all the mages of the multiverse flocked to him for advice. So powerful was he that only his brother Mishra stood as a potential rival. But Mishra hated him bitterly, and soon a war began. The war spanned decades and took untold lives. Worse, it allowed evil without compare to blossom. An awful affliction spread through Mishra's armies. The black oil that changed everything in its path. Tamiyo knows this story. This is only the way it starts. There is much more. Years ago, she memorized every word. Afterward, just as Urza's metal heir had set himself upon the task of creating a plane, she'd set herself the task of recording it. Like the oil, she'd found the story had seeped into her mind, begun to change it into something she did not like. Something dangerous. She'd sealed it away. What a foolish thing to have done. Hovering over the neon skies of Tawashi, she holds the scroll in hand. Oil seeps from her fingers onto the parchment. Before long, it will be impossible to read any of the characters. But that is no worry for someone like her. Someone who knows these stories better than she knows her own. A Phyrexian centurion bashes in the roof of a building. People scatter from it like ants. No, not like ants, whose carapaces lend them strength, who act as one in all things. People could never be so reliable when trapped by flesh and mortal fear. No, as they pour out from the building screaming, it is only the visceral that drives them, the corporeal, the falsest parts of their existence. There's an iron ring binding the scroll. Tamiyo slips it off. It plummets through the air, landing like so many other hunks of metal upon someone's unsuspecting crown. The story continues. The wizard Urza creates an heir from pure, unvarnished metal. He names him Karn. The same spark of creation that birthed him burns brightly in his breast. Karn too must create. As a sculptor chipping at marble, he shapes his world. When it is done, the creatures named and granted boons, the climate carefully crafted, the earth shaped and polished, he appoints his own successor, Memnarch, to oversee it. The spirits of Tawashi do not take kindly to her intrusion, nor the intrusion of her fellows. Bows bend, steam sears sinew, leaves slice like razor blades. Other stories serve to protect her. Lesser stories, stories without purpose, stories that do not extol the glories and virtues she now sees so clearly. Every history, every tale, every fable that exists is either for unity or against it. She can shed those histories that no longer matter. This one does. She must bring it to its conclusion. As her eyes scan the scroll, the characters light up, even those now consumed with black oil. Each syllable she reads booms and reverberates, shaking the skyscrapers of Tawashi. Trains careen off their crumbling tracks and dive to the ground. The earth tears itself apart, opening crevices in the city that has space only for itself. Rivers pour in, taking boats and fishers along with them. Streaks of black color the water. Phyrexian symbols etch themselves onto the papers hanging on the buildings yet standing. It won't be long now. The story continues. Memnarch, the heir's heir, is a copy of a copy. A faded image of Urza himself. It longs for the power its grandfather wielded as easily as a poet wields a brush. It longs for its parents' ability to create. It longs to see more. Over years, it plucks life from this plane and that, settling them all within this garden, waiting for the flowers to come. And they do. But they aren't the flowers Memnarch expects. These bloom in black oil. The choking roots wrap around that which is alive and whole. Soon, the whole garden drowns beneath the oil. The heir returns to discover his home has been torn asunder. There is more to the story. There are the people driven from their home and trampled underfoot, the souls shocked from their bodies altered beyond any recognition. The queen rising from among the muck to rule her people. A glorious, unending oneness. A life without war or conflict. The heir looks on all this with horror. When Tamiyo wrote the story, she feared all of this. She didn't understand the peace that came with being part of a greater family. This is not the way she'd tell this story now. But it is almost done, and she will continue telling it. Boseiju, the tree that once held this plane together, bursts apart. Like wine spilling from a cask, oil runs from between the splinters, dripping onto the thirsty earth. An unholy screech pierces the ears of all who will listen. Kami, torn from their homes, scatter out of the district. Some find their ends at the tip of a lance. Some find them torn apart by compleated fissures joined within their catches. But the result is always the same. The Kami dissolve into a fine mist. Tendrils of smoke rise from the blackening soil, from the bridges dissolving into nothing, until the whole district is swallowed by the fog of dead Kami. There is a distant part within her that is screaming at the sight of all this. A small voice ringing in her ear, a tingling at her fingertips. But she cannot say she is afraid. This is what is right for Kamigawa. After centuries of war, have they not earned peace? Is this not simply another step to become cool? The scroll itself becomes oil in Tamiyo's hands, dripping between her fingers. This is how the story ends, and how it was always ended. With Phyrexcia's victory. Well, that's a pretty interesting story. A storyteller like me is telling about the story of someone telling another story. Storyception! Oh, there's a cat. Hold on. Shh! Quiet, you cat! Now that's already taken care of. The trip to Pion is looking much more by the moment. Anyway, that's the story for now. Thank you, my dear listeners, if you are still listening. And again, I will be back here, or back in another city, to find job there. And then, if I have time, tell you another stories like this. And maybe I might conjure up a song about a certain great looking bard named Mordecai, who was lost on a deep and very mysterious world called Midgard, and his adventuring days trying to survive and making a living, and hopefully trying to get out of this mess that he comes in. I shouldn't have drunk too many ale in that tavern last night. Or was it yesterday? I don't know. Time doesn't seem to move around in this place. Well, anyway, I am yet again Mordecai, the Solemn Bard. Hope to see you soon, and good day to you all.